The perfect son. The town of Willowbrook prided itself on being the picture of suburban perfection. Nestled between rolling hills and a shimmering lake, it was the kind of place where neighbors swapped casserole recipes and PTA meetings were hotbeds of polite gossip. But tonight, the tranquility was shattered by the piercing wail of sirens. At the heart of the commotion was the Cartwright residence, a sprawling colonial home with immaculate hedges and a driveway large enough to fit a small parade. It belonged to the Cartwrights, Philip and Martha, and their son Daniel, the perfect son. Daniel Cartwright had been the golden boy of Willowbrook. Star quarterback, valedictorian, and volunteer at the local animal shelter, he was the town's pride and joy. Mothers pointed him out to their children as a role model, and fathers often said, "Why can't you be more like Daniel?" But tonight, Daniel's body lay lifeless on the polished oak floor of his family's living room. A pool of crimson spread beneath him, marring the pristine white rug. Detective Eleanor Price stood over the body, her sharp eyes scanning the room. The initial reports claimed a break-in gone wrong. A shattered window and overturned furniture seemed to support the story. But something about the scene felt off. "Who found him?" she asked Officer Hayes. "His parents," Hayes replied. "They came home from the gala around 9 and found the door ajar, called 911 right after." Eleanor nodded and turned her attention to the parents, who were huddled together on the couch. Martha's face was streaked with mascara, her sobs barely muffled by her husband's shoulder. Philip, on the other hand, sat stone-faced, his hand gripping his wife's arm as if to anchor her. "Mr. and Mrs. Cartwright, I'm very sorry for your loss," Eleanor began. "I know this is difficult, but I need to ask you a few questions." Philip nodded stiffly. "Of course. Anything to catch whoever did this. Did Daniel have any enemies? Anyone who might want to harm him?" Martha let out a hysterical laugh, cutting through her tears. "Enemies?" "Daniel. No. Everyone loved him. He was perfect. Perfect." Eleanor had heard that word too many times tonight. She turned her attention to the rest of the house, examining the scattered items. A family photo lay face down on the mantel, its glass frame cracked. She picked it up carefully. The picture showed the three of them, the quintessential happy family, but something caught her eye. Daniel's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Detective Price," called Officer Hayes, "you might want to see this." Eleanor followed him upstairs to Daniel's bedroom. The room was as spotless as the rest of the house, every book and trophy meticulously arranged. But on the desk sat a laptop, its screen still glowing. "It was open when we arrived," Hayes explained. "Figured it might be worth a look." Eleanor scrolled through the files, her unease growing with every click. Hidden in a folder labeled School Projects was a cache of videos and photos that painted a very different picture of Daniel Cartwright. The perfect son was a blackmailer. The videos showed tearful classmates confessing secrets, some petty, others ruinous. There were emails demanding money, threats to ruin reputations, and evidence of Daniel's cold, calculating manipulation. The golden boy had been a master puppeteer, pulling the strings of those around him to maintain his image. She downloaded the files onto a flash drive and pocketed it. "This changes things," she murmured. Returning to the living room, she studied the parents again. Martha's grief seemed genuine, but Philip's stoicism now felt like something else. "Mr. Cartwright, did you know about Daniel's activities?" she asked carefully. Philip's eyes flickered for a fraction of a second before he shook his head. "What are you talking about?" "Daniel wasn't who everyone thought he was," Eleanor said, holding his gaze. "I think you knew that." Martha's sobs grew louder, but Philip remained silent, his jaw tightening. Eleanor pressed on. "The break-in was staged. The angle of the shattered glass suggests it was broken from the inside. And the furniture? It was toppled deliberately, not in a struggle. Whoever killed Daniel wanted us to think it was a robbery. Philip's composure cracked. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. "I didn't mean to," he whispered. "I confronted him about the blackmail." Martha gasped, pulling away from him. "Philip, what did you do?" "He threatened to ruin us, Martha," Philip said, his voice breaking. "I didn't mean to hurt him. He wouldn't stop." Eleanor signaled to Officer Hayes, who stepped forward with handcuffs. "Philip Cartwright, you're under arrest for the murder of your son." The perfect family, like the perfect son, had been a carefully crafted illusion. And now, the truth lay bare for all of Willowbrook to see.